What's up guys, Lifting here. This is a turbo video build guide for the SRS character that I have recently been playing. In this guide I will show you everything you need to know to get the build up and running. The build is suited for both softcore and hardcore, and it can clear the highest level maps, and it is Atziri viable. With good gear it can even kill Uber Atziri. The defenses of the build lies in having a high life pool, having a decent amount of armor, using the Arctic armor skill, and by utilizing 5 walking zombies as your decoys. The only unique items I recommend for this build is Pledge of Hands and a Belly of the Beast chest piece. However, these items are by no means required, but I will explain why I recommend especially the Pledge of Hands later on in the video. And now let me show you the skill gem setups I recommend for this build. Let's start with the main skill, Summon Raging Spirits. Depending on whether or not you get yourself a Pledge of Hands, there are 2 skill gem setups for your Summon Raging Spirits setup. For a non-Pledge of Hand user, I recommend the following: Summon Raging Spirits, Spell Echo, melee physical damage and minion damage. For a 5 link, add in Empower, and if you have a 6 link, I suggest adding in Calling Strike. If you have a Pledge of Hands, I instead recommend this setup: Summon Raging Spirits, melee physical damage, minion damage, Empower. For a 5 link, add in Calling Strike, and if you have a 6 link, I suggest adding in Melee Splash. However, using Melee Splash can make it hard to sustain the mana cost of the skill, and it also decreases single target / boss damage, so it's up to you. Personally, I would just leave it out. The clear speed is still really good. The next setup is the Minion Tank Decoy setup. For this you need the following: Raise Zombie, Summon Chaos Golem, Minion Life, and Minion and Totem Elemental Resistances. Oh, and when possible, make sure to put this setup in a rare helmet that gives 2+ to minion skill gem levels. This is mandatory as it greatly improves both the golem and the zombie's survivability. Next up, your chest needs to be 6-targeted and consisting of 1 4-link and 1 2-link. For the 4-link you need 2 Wall Haste skill gems, 1 Haste Aura, and Increased Duration. This is your 4-link. For the remaining 2 sockets you need to link Arctic Armor and Flame Dash. Next, for extra defenses I recommend Cast when damage taken level 15, Molten Shell level 18, Enfeeble level 17, and Increased Duration to max level. Next, in your gloves you need 2 2-links. The first is Hatred linked to Generosity, the second is Flesh Offering linked to Faster Casting. Faster Casting is optional, but in my opinion a nice quality of life improvement. However, getting the rightly colored sockets if you want armor pieces can be a hassle, so it's not necessary. And that's it for the skill gems, guys. Before I show you how to progress throughout the skill tree, here's a few quick leveling tips. Number 1 is to use Flame Totem and Lightning Tendrils linked with added cold or lightning damage while leveling up. And make sure to put either setup in a +1 to levels of Socketed Fire Skill Gems weapon or use a Life Sprig, and remember you can dual wield these. When you reach level 23, I recommend getting a Matua to Puna shield and linking Raise Zombie, Minion Life, and Minion and Totem Elemental Resistances in this. Keep in mind you need them to tank, not deal damage. When you reach level 24, I suggest you grab a Reverberation Rod, Unique Wand, and because of the implicit spell echo of this unique item, this will work great for your Summon Raging Spirits setup. For this temporary setup, I recommend using Summon Raging Spirits, melee physical damage, and minion damage. And it should be said that it can be beneficial to simply just keep leveling with Flame Totem and Lightning Tendrils until later, as the SRS setup is fairly slow, at least compared to the Flame Totem and Tendrils. But if you prefer leveling up with SRS, then it is definitely doable. That's what I did personally. Somewhere around level 50, I would also recommend that you start looking for a 5-link 2+ to Socketed Fire skill gem staff and insert your SRS skill gem setup into this. This will provide you with a huge damage boost. If possible, try to get one with cast speed or craft cast speed onto the staff yourself. And at the same point in time, you should also get yourself a rare helmet with the 2+ to Socketed Minion gems. This means you no longer need the shield and you can equip the staff. And it is in this setup you need to insert your zombie and golem gems together with their respective support gems as shown earlier. Alright guys, so let's talk skill tree progression, but before I show you how to spend your skill points, I should quickly mention that you can play this as the Templar as well. If you want to play it as the Templar, you simply branch into this direction and pick these skill points. However, I decided to play it as the Scion, as you can see the full build is 112 points. And I will now show you how I went about the skill tree point for point. So let's reset this and get started. And I'll try to do this fast guys, so listen up. You start by picking up the Mana and Intelligence node here by the Scion, then heading into Shaper. And since you're leveling with Flame Totem and Tendrils or even Firestorm, I would recommend speccing into nodes that gives you damage to those skills in the beginning. Because of that, we're heading up and picking up Retribution here, and after picking up Retribution, heading up and picking up Elemental Dominion for the cast speed and elemental damage with spells. From Elemental Dominion to help with the mana sustainability, we also pick up Quick Recovery. Then from Quick Recovery to further boost our damage, we're going to pick up Mental Rapidity for the cast speed and mana regeneration. Now at this point in time, you should be able to start using your zombies, and one of the best ways to keep your zombies alive is by grabbing some minion life regeneration. Otherwise the zombies will simply die too often. And then to further boost the powers of our minions, we're going to pick up Lord of the Dead together with the minion life node here, then head down towards Deep Wisdom and into Heart of Soul for the mana and life increase. Make sure to pick up the last point here as well. Then from Heart and Soul to further boost the damage while we're leveling, I suggest picking up Nimbleness for the increased cast speed and the increased movement speed. The chance to avoid interruption from stuns is great as well for this type of build. Then after having picked up Nimbleness, we're going to head up here, pick up Cruel Preparation and the last remaining skill points. At this point in time, I would also suggest picking up Deep Thoughts, as it helps with the leveling process, and you are most likely going to need this to sustain your SRS setup later on in the game as well. Since you have probably now started to use your SRS setup with Reverberation Rod and you're using your zombies, now is a good time to increase the damage of your minions. We're going to do that by first of all picking up the minion damage node here, then heading down towards Grave Pact, heading through the top circle and into Grave Pact. This will also make it so that you can summon one additional zombie now. After having picked up Grave Pact, we're going to pick up Potency of Will here. This will make it so that your Raging Spirits will remain on the battlefield for longer, thus indirectly increasing their damage. After having picked up Potency of Will, we want to make our character a bit more tanky, and we're going to do that by picking up Constitution here. From Constitution, we're going to head up towards Nimbleness again, and then head down towards and picking up Harrier for the cast speed and movement speed increase. And at this point in time, we're going to start picking up aura nodes, and we're going to start by picking up Charisma down here, then picking up Leadership. After Leadership, we're going to pick up a bit more life before we continue by picking up Discipline and Training up here and the last remaining life node, and then Sanctity for the armor increase and life regenerated per second. From here, we're going to head in this direction, pick up Purity of Flesh for the life increase, and then head up here and pick up Sovereignty together with the reduced mana nodes here. And to make our character a bit more tanky at this point, I also suggest picking up 3 life nodes down here by Constitution. At this point in time with the build, it is time that you start to increase the damage by picking up jewels. And we're going to do that by picking up this jewel socket here by the Scion, this jewel socket here in between the Templar and the Witch, this jewel socket in between the Witch and the Shadow, and this jewel socket down here in between the Ranger and the Shadow. And I will show you in just a bit which type of jewels you need to use for this setup. And then from here, we're going to pick up Coordination for the increased cast speed and the dexterity, then Blood Siphon for the increased life, and remember to pick up the last life node here as well. And at this point in time, there's not really too much more to pick up. I would recommend picking up the Witch jewel up here, then picking up some more life down here by the Scion, and then finally Hired Killer over here. This will leave you at 181 to increased maximum life, which is pretty good. Optionally, you can also invest into Dynamo for the 16% increased maximum mana and 5% reduced mana cost of skills, together with Righteous Decree over here that also increases your maximum mana and reduces the mana cost of your skills. This can be very useful if you are running melee splash. And that's it for the skill tree, guys. Now in regards to gearing and stats, for your rare items, so the non-unique items I suggest, you need the following affixes. Number 1 is life, and I recommend that you try to aim for at least 70 plus on each rare item. Number 2 is elemental resistances, and having 75 in each element is required in merciless difficulty. Number 3 is armor, and try to get as much of this as possible. You may need to use some hybrid gear to get the right colored sockets for some of your skill gem setups though. The 4th affix I recommend getting on your rare items is cast speed. And this is so that you can summon more spirits at a time before they expire. If you find yourself in need of more dexterity or strength, I recommend crafting it onto your jewelry using the masters and their benches in your hideout. And if you can get yourself a bit of extra chaos resistance, then that's a good idea as well. It isn't necessary though. For your jewels, and remember these are important for this build, you need the following stats. Number 1 is minion damage, and number 2 is increased cast speed with staves, cast speed with fire skills or just plain increased cast speed. It doesn't matter which one of these it is. These are the two most important stats for your jewelry, and they will greatly increase your damage of the build. Having these two stats on all of your jewelry will greatly increase the damage of your build. If you can get life onto the jewels as well, then that is just absolutely perfect. And for this build you should also get 2 hollowed or divine life flasks of staunching depending on which type you prefer, 1 ample granite flask of iron skin, a ruby, topaz or sapphire flask depending on the content you're farming, and an ample quicksilver flask of warding to protect you from curses. The 2 unique items I recommend for this build, as I mentioned earlier, is a Pledge of Hanes staff and a Belly of the Beast chest piece. Pledge of Hanes will give you the effect of a level 30 spell echo together with a nice 100% increased mana bonus, and the spell damage is unimportant for this build, so don't worry about that. You can get the staff with the lowest and they will be cheaper because of this. And the reason I suggest this staff is that because of the inbuilt spell echo, that means that you can use another support gem to increase the damage of the spirits, and the mana increase of the staff makes it much easier to sustain the mana cost of the main skill gem setup, especially if you want to use melee splash. Alternatively, you can instead use a 3+ to skill gems rare staff, but for this build I recommend the Pledge of Hanes. Remember, until you get yourself a Pledge of Hanes, I highly recommend using a 5-link 2+ to fire skill gem staff for your SRS setup. The other item is the Belly of the Beast, and the reason I suggest Belly of the Beast is primarily because of its 30 to 40% increased maximum life bonus, but also because it adds a decent amount of armor and elemental resistances. Because of the base type, it will also make it somewhat easier to get the rightly colored sockets for your skill gem setup. Now lastly, for the bandit quest rewards, you should help Ogre on normal difficulty for the extra HP and kill them all on both cruel and merciless difficulty to receive the 2 additional skill points. And that's it guys. Remember, if you have any questions, then the best way to contact me is to join me at my Twitch livestream. The link is below in the description. Otherwise, feel free to ask your questions below in the comments or by going to my forum post on the Path of Exile forums. I'll do my best to answer any questions that haven't already been answered in this video. Now remember to subscribe for more Path of Exile content. Thank you for watching, and bros, do you even nerd?